So I'm going to tell you everything they don't tell you about raising your layers in a deep litter system. Okay, so a lot of people have not been able to start this business of raising chickens because they don't have the needed capital to start. Especially when you start to consider the amount you would have to buy your cages, build a structure, get your cages. And for those who are just starting with maybe 200, 400, 500, or even up to 1,000 birds as their flock, it can be challenging to want to raise a couple millions of naira to buy your cages alone. And then they reach out to farmers, some farmers who have been practicing for a while, and what they hear from them is that, oh, don't ever try to use deep litter because it's going to fail you. There are so many problems attached to it. But then, is it true that you can't really succeed in this business using deep litter? So that's what we're going to be pointing out in this video. Once again, this is DIY Agric, your #1 animal scientist and your poultry success partner. First of all, I want you to understand that with the deep litter, as much as people might paint it to have a lot of disadvantages, you actually have a lot of advantages too. And number one of it is that you don't even have to change your litter frequently. You can see it can be dry, like super dry, for months. I mean, we are talking about 4 months, 6 months, and even up to a year. And you can do this with zero odor. People would hardly know that you even have chickens on your farm, except for the noise, the sound that they make. But for the odor, it can be almost odorless. Of course, it has its own odor, but not something that would alarm people around you. All right, so for the litter, you can actually have the litter to be dry. One of the reasons why people might even want to change it maybe before a year is because as they keep working on it, all these things were wood chips before, but it's becoming dusty. Okay, all of them were like this before, like wood chips, but then most of it has become dusty now. So that's one advantage that you get. You don't have to worry about litter management all the time. One challenge with that, however, is that if you allow water to spill in the pen, like if you are the type that allows water to spill from time to time, or if you have an automatic drinker like the ones we have here, and you allow water to spill, like for here now, something happened some days ago, I think two days ago. This drinker had a problem and the upper part got removed from the bell. So the bell dropped to the floor and there was water everywhere on that spot. So right now this part is wet and I can feel some odor coming from there. So because of that, I'll have to change the litter around here, or maybe I can even change everything. It's been around for almost I think going to 6 months now. So I can decide to change everything or just change what is here. That's the only thing that's giving me issues now, except of course if I want to reduce the rate at which this thing is dusty, so I can just bring in new shavings at the same time. All right, so that's another benefit that you have. And then for production, of course you want to achieve optimum production. For production, some people say that you can't really get good production with deep litter, but that's a lie. That's a total lie. As far as I'm concerned, we've been having 90-something% production. I picked 20 eggs and the hens are around 47 in number. We slaughtered one, and I'm going to show you something else again. Yeah, so you can actually have 90-something% production in here as long as you manage everything right. But because of the nature of my job, something happened and it led to one of the disadvantages of this system again, which is the fact that your hens can go broody. Broody is when they start to sit on their eggs like they want to hatch. So you can see this particular one now. You can hear that sound. This hen has gone broody. This hen and one other one. They are not supposed to make that protective sound if they are just entering there to lay. You see, if I come around say evening time, this is still morning, around, I think it's around 10, 11, I think 10 in the morning. So if I come around evening, all of them will have been done laying, but you still have those two that are brooding. You see them inside the boxes. So that's one of the disadvantages again. And it's not like you can't curb this. It's not like you can't prevent this. You can actually do so. The reason why it happened here is because a lot of times we don't even have time to pick the eggs until evening. So if you expose them to the eggs long enough, they will go broody naturally. So it's good that you pick the eggs in a deep litter system. You pick the eggs about, say, 3 to 4 times a day. That is, once you're having a couple of eggs, you just walk inside, you pick, and that's why we say it's more labor intensive. But then, if you look at the advantage of saving yourself the stress of packing the litter, or even having to use your light, your electricity, your water to flush the litter, that's the poop in the case of the cage system, you are saving on all those daily costs, and they are just there on the litter. You're doing absolutely nothing other than making sure that it is not wet. And if you have the automatic drinker, which of course is also expensive nowadays, if you have the automatic drinkers, it saves you the problem or the stress of having to refill their water from time to time. In that case, in the case of automatic drinker, you just have the water, the storage tank supplying the automatic drinkers. It's just so convenient in that sense. So if we're talking about the hens going broody, what is the disadvantage of that to the system? If your hens go broody, it means they would not lay. Once they go broody, they stop laying, and that means you have just lost eggs from those hens that go broody. So I'm going to have to slaughter them, and that's one of the things you have to watch out for if you must start on a deep litter. Yeah, my advice to those who are starting with 500 birds, 200 would even be to just start with deep litter. I mean, it's going to save you the cost of cage, other than the fact that you have to check them from time to time to pick the eggs. I think there's no problem, there's no trouble for you, and it also saves you on the stress of thinking about, okay, where to dispose your waste. It can just be there for 6 months, even 1 year, if you can deal with the dusty litter. So I think it's a good one. But if you're going large scale, that's when we'll start to talk about the space management. This one will use a lot of space, but if you were using cages, you'll be using lesser space for the same quantity of birds. The space that will take about 3,000 birds on deep litter would take maybe close to 8,000 birds in cages. So that's one thing that you can look at when you want to expand. But when you're starting and you have limited capital, don't let anyone tell you that deep litter cannot work. It can actually work. Yeah, it's working here. You're having over 90% production, and you can replicate it anywhere. Trust me. Talking about health, yeah, some people have reported that their own challenge is health, but I tell you, they are organic, but even if they were not organic, they will still be healthy if you give them the necessary medication from time to time. This was now, if I trace their poop color is fantastic. There have been no greenish poo, nothing, and they're just on my organic regimen. So for health, I don't think this poses any challenge. Where people would say that deep litter for them causes a lot of health issues is if they don't know what is causing the health issues. Like this wet area now, if I leave it like that, it's going to allow some bacteria to build up there and they'll get infected. As a matter of fact, as soon as I change this litter here, I'm going to give them something like a kind of remedy that I use, organic remedy of course. So I'm just going to try and purge their system, try and make sure that if there's anything building up, I just stop that build up inside their system. So I'm going to give them that medication after changing this whole thing. Of course, because of limited contact, when I get into this place now with my leg, that means the hens too are exposed to the same area I'm matching. So if I were to bring in any infection, that means I'm exposing them to heat almost directly. But in the cage system, even if you walk around, the hens don't get to come in contact with the place where the sole of your foot is stepping. So maybe in that case, you would say that the chance of disease occurrence is reduced in the cage system. However, as a poultry farmer, you need to take biosecurity issues very seriously. So anything you're bringing in should not be something that you think might be bringing infection into the farm. You should have your food dip and all those things that prevent diseases. So if you do all those things, I think deep litter works just as good as the cage system would work for you, especially if you're just starting. All right, so what do I want you to take from this video? Don't let anyone tell you that you can't start your layer farming practice with the deep litter system. I can even tell you that is the easiest way to start. But if you have anything that you think that I've left out in this video, like reasons not to use the deep litter system or even the cage system, just leave it in the comment section. And if you think you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, share, and then subscribe to the channel if you are here to do so. Once again, this is DIY Hagrick, your #1 animal scientist and your poultry success partner. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.